A very good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and you are just in time for the Ambassador where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. I am your Ambassador Susan Nganga. To our first story, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has today convened a high-level meeting with representatives of the G7 Plus development partners at his residence in the railway headquarters. The session focused on reviewing the progress of Nairobi's flagship infrastructure projects with a special emphasis on the transformative Nairobi Railway City Initiative. The flagship item on the agenda was an update and forward-looking strategy for the Nairobi Railway City project, which spans 438 acres near Nairobi's Central Business District. Here's more from that meeting. Kenya's push for sustainable urban development took center stage at the railway's headquarters in Nairobi, where Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi led a high-level meeting with representatives of the G7 Plus development partners.
Department and agency level.
The meeting reviewed progress on key infrastructure projects, top of the agenda being the Nairobi Railway City Initiative.
The critical components of the prioritized integrated transport system to decongest the Nairobi Metropolitan comprise of the Nairobi Railway Central Station project as the key first mover project, supported by 2 BRT lines, that's line 2 and line 3, commuter lines 1 and 2, the SGR link from Syokimau, where the current SGR terminates, to the Nairobi Central Station.
Spanning 438 acres, the Railway City is designed to modernize Nairobi's transport system, reduce congestion in the CBD, and transform the city into greener, better connected hub.
The Ministry of Roads and Transport is keen to continue working and engaging with the G7 Plus development partners in order to decongest the Nairobi metropolitan area through implementation of an integrated intermodal and multimodal transport system to facilitate seamless transportation of person, goods and service within the metropolitan area.
Also discuss our pilot transport reforms, including the Bus Rapid Transit Line 3 and new commuter rail lines, projects expected to boost accessibility across the city. Diplomats from the G7 Plus countries, including British High Commissioner, commended the government's urban agenda, pledging continued technical and financial support.
For us on the UK side, we now that the expression of interest has gone out, we are waiting for replies, which we expect to receive by the end of August. And we hope that will then allow Kenya Railways to go ahead with RFPs on the technical side, but also will allow National Treasury to issue an RFP on the finance side so that banks can start to begin offers and to start that negotiation process.
In his remarks, Mudavadi reaffirmed Kenya's commitment to partnership and innovation, aligning the project with Vision 2030, the fourth medium-term plan, and bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
Our key agenda today is to assess the progress of the pilot phase projects for the G7 Plus transport program, building on the foundations of our 2 earlier meetings on 6th of June and 5th November 2024, and reaffirming our shared commitment to deliver the pilot priority projects. We now have a clearer perspective on how we can shift towards an investment partnership that will enable our joint catalytic projects anchored in infrastructure, sustainability and opportunity to stimulate a new era of economic growth and prosperity for the Kenyan people. This partnership is aligned with the government's bottom-up economic agenda and will support the whole of government approach to service delivery.
The meeting concluded with a joint commitment to maintain momentum, deepen collaboration, and deliver lasting impact for millions of urban residents. Susan Nganga, GBS News, Nairobi. Now moving forward, it is shaping up to be a historic presidential race in Cameroon, with a record number of candidates vying for the country's top office. As the nation prepares for election this October, 81 hopefuls have officially submitted their applications, marking a sharp rise in political interest and competition. But despite the crowded field, all eyes remain on long-term President Paul Biya, who, at 92, is once again seeking re-election. Here's more on what's happening in Cameroon.
Cameroon has seen a record surge in presidential hopefuls, with 81 candidates submitting applications by Monday's deadline for the October election. Among them are familiar names like Bello Buba Maigari, Maurice Kamto, and Cabral Libi, all running for a second time, many under new political affiliations. Only 7 women are in the race, including Eliane Veronique and independent candidates Mbengono Zwame and Genevieve Ze Amvene. Despite the crowded field, 92-year-old President Paul Biya remains the dominant figure. After over 4 decades in power, he's announced another run, even as concerns grow over his health and the credibility of the vote. Last week, President Biya reshuffled top military ranks in what is seen as a way to ensure his renewed run for the presidency. The Electoral Council will now review all applications, with the final list of approved candidates expected no later than 60 days before the vote. For many, this moment signals both a desire for change and the deep challenges facing Cameroon's democracy. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
A very interesting election ahead. We'll keep him updated on the election as news develop from Cameroon. Now moving forward, political tensions are escalating in Turkey as widespread protests break out following the arrest of Istanbul's mayor. The opposition Republican People's Party accuses the government of orchestrating a crackdown to suppress political rivals. Mayor Ekrem sentencing has sparked outrage among citizens and fueled allegations of judicial misuse. Government officials insist the actions are part of legitimate efforts to combat corruption and terrorism. As the divide deepens, Turkey faces growing unrest and uncertainty ahead of the future elections. Here are the details from our very own reporter, Beatrice Wangoi.
Widespread protests have continued across major cities in Turkey as the main opposition, the Republican People's Party, challenges what it describes as a politically motivated crackdown by the government. Large crowds have gathered in Istanbul, Ankara and other urban centers following the arrest and imprisonment of Istanbul's mayor. The mayor was sentenced to nearly 2 years in prison on charges of insulting a public prosecutor, a move that opposition leaders and many citizens view as a deliberate attempt to remove a key rival from the political arena ahead of the future elections.
Unable to win at the polls, Erdogan wants to eliminate and imprison his rival. Since March the 19th, we've rallied in Istanbul's largest public squares, even in temperatures of 38 to 40 degrees Celsius. Thousands have come out instead of staying at home.
Every stolen penny, every bribe or misused public asset will be held to account by the judge and law enforcement. If you pocket public funds or corrupt municipalities, you will face justice.
The government has defended the legal actions, stating that the judiciary is operating independently and that the investigations target corruption and threats to national security. Officials argue that no individual should be exempt from the law. However, the crackdown has caused significant political and economic fallout. The national currency has weakened, investor confidence has declined, and international human rights organizations have raised serious concerns about the direction of Turkey's democratic process. With tensions rising and neither side backing down, the country faces a period of deep political uncertainty. Beatrice Wangoi, The Ambassador News.
Beatrice Story will take us to a very first break here at the Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. We'll be right back.
Unaona venye watu ni wanoma huku nje, and that's the choice of the art today is graphite and charcoal. What can't talk but will reply when spoken to. It's really smart. So Naja, you've actually made a name for yourself kwa hii industry.
Yangu ya art ni kitu nilizaliwa nayo actually. Art is part of my DNA kabisa.
So that's primary, secondary, were you doing art?
Yeah.
As a subject?
Okay, art niliona venye watu wengi wanajionanga mimi ni artist, acha nifanye art.
Yeah.
Niliona sasa ya nini niende nifanye kitu najua. Okay, my social media handles Cyprian Sova 777 Instagram.
Hello boys and girls, how are you today? Because I am very, very happy. So we are on Kids Mind on GBS TV.
Today we're going to make ta-da! A boba tea letter set.
We are moving to singing class.
Skinamarinky dinky ding, skinamarinky doo. I love you. The tortoise and the hare. Friends, do you know about this story?
Now you're finished to make.
Enjoy yourselves, everybody. Hello, my name is Nyabio. I'm from Mahanim. Call this school a good school because the second my mom saw it, she saw it was Christian based. And when I see Christian based, that's what the character my mother wants from me. And I like the sports that we play for PE. Like sometimes we play table tennis, we can play football, we match, and on Fridays we have games. And we verse the teachers in football. And this is why I think this school is the best school your children can go to.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the bulletin, and now Iran, Britain, France and Germany will hold nuclear talks in Istanbul this Friday. This is according to the statement released by the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson, who said early on Monday, following warnings by 3 European countries that failure to resume negotiations will lead to international sanctions being reimposed on Iran. The talks, scheduled for Friday, come after foreign ministers of the E3 nations, as those European countries are known, as well as European Union's foreign policy chief, held their first call on Thursday with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas, since Israel and the US attacked Iran nuclear facilities a month ago. And Davis Karani now reports on what's currently happening and on the meeting ahead.
The E3 have said that they will restore UN sanctions on Tehran via snapback mechanism by the end of August if nuclear talks that were ongoing between Iran and the US before the Israel-Iran air war do not resume or fail to produce concrete results.
It's dangerous, and it deprives Gazans of human dignity. It contradicts long-established humanitarian principles. It creates disorder Hamas is now exploiting, with distribution points reduced from 400 to just 4. It forces desperate civilians, children among them, to scramble unsafely for the essentials of life. It's a grotesque spectacle, wrecking a terrible human cost. Almost 1,000 civilians have been killed since May, seeking aid, including 100, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this weekend alone. Netanyahu should listen to the Israeli people, 82% of whom desperately want a ceasefire. and to the hostage families because they know it offers the best chance to bring their loved ones home.
The snapback mechanism can be used to restore UN sanctions before the UN Security Council resolution enshrining the deal, which expires on October 18th.
As I said, our Atomic Energy Organization is responsible for that. They are now trying to, evaluate what has exactly happened to our nuclear material, to our enriched material, and we will soon inform, the agency, IAEA, about the exact, that what has. We need a new modality because the facilities have been destroyed. Well, based on the modality that we come to with the agency, that would be possible.
For the Israel-Iran war, Tehran and Washington held 5-round nuclear talks mediated by Oman, but faced major stumbling blocks, such as uranium enrichment in Iran, which Western powers want to bring down to zero to minimize any risk of weaponization.
Because of the, constant threats by Israelis, by, the United States in the past, we had no way but to protect our facilities and to protect our material and protect our scientists. So my message to the United States is that let's go for a negotiated solution for Iran's nuclear program. And we did that.
Davis Karani for GBS News, Nairobi.
Now we shift the focus on the humanitarian crisis happening in the Philippines, where torrential rains and severe flooding have disrupted life in the capital and nearby areas, displacing over 48,000 people and leaving 2 missing. More than 23,000 residents were evacuated from areas near Marikina River in Manila, which rose to 18 meters and burst its banks. Quezon City and Caloocan saw over 25,000 displaced due to submerged neighborhoods. Schools and government offices were closed, especially in flood-prone low-lying communities. Floodwaters began to proceed Tuesday, but thousands remain unable to return home. Rescue operations are ongoing for an elderly woman and her driver swept away in the Caloocan. Tropical storm Whipper intensified the monsoon, causing additional casualty, at least 6 deaths and 6 missing in other parts of the country. And now to what's currently happening in Bangladesh. At least 20 people died and more than 170 were injured after Bangladeshi Air Force training jet crashed into a school campus in the capital, Dhaka. Footage from Milestone School and College in the suburb of Uttara showed a huge fire and thick smoke after the aircraft slammed into a 2-story building. The armed forces said in a statement on Facebook that the F-7 jet experienced a mechanical fault after taking off a training exercise just after 13 local time on Monday. The pilot was among those killed. The Air Force added more than 50 people were taken to the hospital with burns, many in a critical condition. A doctor at the National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery said. Many of the victims were students who had just been left out of schools when the plane crashed. 17 of the casualties were children, the health ministry announced. And now to the current happenings in AstraZeneca, which plans to spend $50 billion to expand manufacturing and research capabilities in the United States by 2030. The latest big investment by pharmaceutical company reacting to President Donald Trump's tariff policy. The investment will fund a new drug manufacturing facility in Virginia and expand research and development and cell therapy manufacturing in Maryland, California, Indiana, and Texas. It is said in a statement. And that story brings us to the end of our bulletin here at The Ambassador. Thank you for joining us as we uncover the latest development. We'll continue to bring you updates on these stories and more as they develop. Remember, this is The Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. Good afternoon.
Everywhere, GBS.